Hi friends, welcome back to codeindia. This is Swift basic tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to discuss the scaping and non-scaping closure examples. We will be using Xcode and create some simple examples to understand what is the closure and how closure work as a scaping closure and a non-scaping closure. So before I open my Xcode, let me give you a simple example in my day-to-day life to understand how the closure works. My friend gave instruction to me, wave your hand. I hear the instruction of my friend and start waving my hand. Now, there can be another way of giving instruction. I write my name on a piece of paper and give this piece of paper to my friend. Now, this piece of paper is a variable. Now, my friend takes that piece of paper and write, wave your hand. On the piece of paper, I read the piece of paper. My name is already written and my friend has added wave your hand. So I read this piece of paper and start waving my hand, reading the instruction. So the instruction that is passed to me by my friend through this piece of paper is a closure. So this is how the closure work. Let us see the syntax of a closure. In the syntax, we pass a parameter to closure and the statement is passed back to me from this closure. So this is how the closure work. Let us open our Xcode and create a simple example to learn how the closure works and how closure works as scaping and non-scaping. Let us open our Xcode, create new Xcode project. I am giving the name closure example to this project. Now I will click the next button, example demo, and I will click the next button, and then my Xcode is asking me where to put the project. I will put this in codeindia project and click the create button. Now my project is created. I will click the view controller file in my file area, and now inside my view did load, I will write the closure examples. Let me create a simple closure function that I discussed you related to the wave your hand, and this is the simplest closure function I am going to create. The first one will show you how you can create a simple closure, then we will discuss scaping and non-scaping. So I will write let wave your hand closure. Now let me write the type, parameter type, the argument which I am going to pass, and the return type for this closure. I will be returning a void, means nothing I will return. So this is the simple variable I am creating for the closure, and now I will write the closure function. What is the syntax? Syntax is the name of the parameter and then the return type and then in statement. So I have written name in. I can avoid writing the return type because it is void. Let me print my name. Please wave your hand. Name I will get from the function call, and I will add my text, please wave your hand, to that. Now this is how am I going to create my closure. Now let me call this closure. How I will call this closure? I will pass a string or a name string to this closure. I am writing codeindia as a name string. Now I am going to let me add a label on my main.storyboard so that all the thing I am going to print will be visible to you. So I will use my UI label. I have opened my main.storyboard and I am dragging and dropping the UI label. Now let me add the constraint to UI label. I will align this label to top, bottom, trailing and leading. So I'm just placing it in the entire screen. Only 20 pixel difference pixel has been left from all the side. So let me align this text in the middle, change the font size, add a background color to my label so that it can look nice. Now let me add a bold font to this label. Okay, let me connect this label to my view controller file. How I will do? I will just click this editor portion, click the recent view control main.storyboard and drag and drop this, right click this label to my view controller inside my class, and I will write the name to this label. I am using LBL text. Now my label is created. I will use label.text is equal to the entire text that I was printing in the console. I have added all that to my label. Now this Xcode is asking me to add self. So inside the closer we always use self. Now let me run my code. Now I am not using my debugger portion, so I am just disabling this debug on from my edit scheme so that my Xcode run faster and simulator is launched easily. Now my Xcode is launched and you can see the text is written on the label. Now let me use this uppercase text so that it look better in my label, and again I will run my code. I am using this dot uppercase for my string. Now my Xcode has launched and you can see the codeindia please wave your hand has been added to my label. Now let us discuss the non-skipping closure first. We are going to create a non-skipping closure to find a sum of numbers in an array of integers. What we are going to use? We are going to create a function find sum of numbers and this function is going to take two parameter or two argument. The first one will be the array of integer and the second one I will take the closure. So we can add closure to a function argument also. So this example also show you that the closure is added to the function argument. So I am using this handler as a closure. Let me name it as a handler, sum handler, sorry. Now and this is a closer, so I will write it, the parameter to be passed and the return type with this. Okay, now let me write the logic to get the sum of an array. Sum is equal to 0 and I will use a for loop. I can use the reduce higher order function also, but I am using the simple example, so I am using this for loop. So number in an array and sum is equal to sum plus number. Now I am going to inside my sum handler I am passing this sum. This is how I have created my non-skipping closure. Now let me call this non-skip. Okay, this is a function that will be outside my viewDidLoad. And now let me call this function from viewDidLoad. Find a sum of a number. Calling a non-skipping closure. Self dot find the sum of number. I will pass an array and the closure. So this is how I will create a closure. I will add a curly braces and the closure is giving inside the closure I have a sum. So I am using this sum in. Now I will write self dot lbl text dot text is equal to the sum of an array given number is this value of this sum. Let me run my code. Let me comment all the thing first. Okay, this is telling me to use a variable inside instead of a constant. So I have got the result. The sum of given number is 10. Now see, now I can use a non-skipping closure. This was a, see, this sum handler, this is which is a closure, is used inside the function only and not outside the function. So the reference count will be 0 when the function returned for this sum handler. So the closure is called inside the function and is used before the function returns. So this is a non-skipping closure, and all the closure that the by default in Swift is a non-skipping closure. And all the closure in Swift are non-skipping by nature. Every closure in Swift is non-skipping by default. Now let us create a skipping closure. Skipping closure can be used in two different places. Most of the time they are used for storing a value when we want to store the value of the closure to a variable, and that variable is used later on when even when the function has returned. So this is used for storing purpose, storing a value of a closure, and for a asynchronous task. So a asynchronous task is also, in a asynchronous task also, when the value is called long after the function has returned, because the asynchronous task completes after the function has returned, long after or lengthy. Why we use a asynchronous task? We use a asynchronous tasks for a lengthy task which takes a longer time. We put that task to a main dispatch queue.main means and then we use a async for the asynchronous task, and this task can complete long after the function has returned. So for this also we use a escaping closure. So the escaping closure is used for two purposes. First one is the storage and the second one is the asynchronous task. So we are going to create an example for both these. So let us begin with the storage one. We are going to use the same function that we used in the find the sum of a number, but we are going to use a variable, another handler variable which is global in nature, and the variable is defined outside the function, this completion handler, and we will put the value of the sum handler to this variable. So I will be using this completion handler long after the function has returned anywhere in my code. So I use this same function with a escaping example. So let me, instead of writing sum handler, directly I will write self.completion handler is equal to sum handler. See, I am using this @escaping keyword here. So this is the example of storage. Closure is used even after the function returns. So let us create a array for a asynchronous task. I will use the same function, but I am using this self.dispatchQueue.main to convert this task to a asynchronous task. What is a asynchronous task? A task which is asynchronous task is always used for a lengthy task. Task is distributed to some other queue. Most of the time we use main queue, and so that it can be handled separately, and the result will be fetched even when the function has returned. So even after the function has been returned. So I am using this self.completion handler is equal to sum handler in my dispatch queue.main.async. So this sum handler will be used even when my function has returned. So I will be using this keyword @escaping to convert this closure to escaping closure. Also you can see in my previous example I use this weak self. So why we use this weak self with a square bracket? We use this weak self with a square bracket to break my strong reference if it is required. So if you are using @escaping keyword, and if you are using a @escaping closer, and you want to break the strong reference, you can use this square bracket weak self to break the strong reference, and in that case we use an optional self. So this is how I have called this function and my function the same way I called the previous one. So this was all about the asynchronous task in my escaping closure. Suppose what is a asynchronous closure? What is a non-escaping closure with the asynchronous task? Asynchronous task will be called long after the function returns. So we use @escaping closure for this. Suppose we delete this @escaping keyword, what will happen? The Xcode will ask me to use this because this is using a asynchronous task. So with this we come to an end of this tutorial. Hope you like the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. Bye.